There's a moment when you realize your child is willing to destroy you. My name is Frederick Wilkinson. I'm 62 years old. I'm a father, a widower, and apparently I'm a target. 3 weeks ago, my son walked into my house with a smile I'd been missing for years. He hugged me, tight, genuine, and asked about Margaret's rose bushes. We talked for 40 minutes. He left with my blessing. What he didn't leave with was the small package he'd hidden in the front pocket of my backpack. The one I keep by the door for grocery runs. The one with my reading glasses, my wallet, and now 2.5 grams of cocaine. He didn't know about the camera. The little Ring indoor cam tucked behind the potted fern on my bookshelf. Cost me $60. Best investment I ever made. I didn't panic. I didn't confront him. I documented everything. I took photos. I called exactly one person. And then I put the cocaine back, in Brandon's drawer, in the guest room he used to sleep in as a boy. And I invited him to Thanksgiving dinner. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. This is a story about family, trust, and what happens when one of those things is weaponized. To understand why my son tried to send me to prison, you need to understand what I had that he wanted. Let me take you back to April 14th, 2021, 3:47 in the afternoon. That's when I found my wife, Margaret, collapsed in her rose garden. Brain aneurysm, no warning, no goodbye, just gone. We'd been married 38 years, raised 2 kids in this house, a modest 3-bedroom ranch in the Portland suburbs, 2,340 square feet, built in 1987. We paid off the mortgage in 2019. Margaret cried the day we made that final payment. She said it meant we'd finally made it. The funeral was beautiful. Over 200 people came. Brandon, my son, arrived late, left early. Didn't explain why. Life insurance paid out $400,000. Margaret had insisted on that policy. "I want you taken care of, Freddie," she'd said. She always called me Freddie. After she died, the house got quiet. Too quiet. I kept everything exactly how she left it. Her reading glasses on the nightstand, her coffee mug, the one with the chipped handle, still in the cabinet. I couldn't bring myself to move anything. I learned to care for her roses. 14 bushes, heirloom varieties. It wasn't my thing before, but it became my thing. Every Saturday morning, I'm out there with pruning shears and fertilizer. I talk to her while I work. Sounds crazy, I know, but it helps. I also talk to her photo every morning. It sits on my nightstand. "Morning, Maggie," I say. Sometimes I tell her about my day. Sometimes I just sit there. The loneliness hits hard in a house built for 2. Brandon pretty much disappeared after the funeral. In 3 years, he visited maybe 5 times. Calls dropped from weekly to monthly to just happy birthday. I made excuses. He's busy building his company, I tell myself. He's dealing with grief in his own way. My daughter Emily, she's 26 now, visited every 2 weeks like clockwork. She's a forensic accountant down in Eugene. Smart as a whip, organized, detail-oriented. She'd bring groceries, help with yard work, just sit and talk. I love that girl. But I missed my son. That's the truth. I missed Brandon. There's something about a father wanting his son's approval, his presence. I didn't understand why he'd drifted so far. Then August of last year, he showed up unannounced. Knocked on the door on a Wednesday afternoon. "Hey, Dad," he said. "I've been thinking about you. I'm sorry I haven't been around." He started visiting every Wednesday. Brought lunch from this deli he liked. Asked about my old engineering stories. I'd spent 35 years at Portland Metro Engineering. He seemed genuinely interested. We'd sit at Margaret's oak dining table, the one she picked out in '98, and just talk. I wanted so badly to believe he'd changed, that losing his mom had brought him back to me. So I ignored the red flags, like how he always visited when Emily wasn't around, how he'd casually ask about my finances. "You doing okay, Dad? Bills good? Retirement solid?" I'd answer honestly. My pension plus Social Security brings in $3,800 a month. I spend maybe $2,400. The paid-off house helps. I've got $680,000 in retirement accounts, $95,000 in savings, Margaret's life insurance, mostly invested. On paper, I'm worth about $2.5 million. But I live like I always have, simply, modestly. Brandon saw that number differently. He saw it as his ticket out of whatever hole he'd dug himself into. I just didn't know how deep that hole was yet. Brandon's 29 now, tall, confident, gets his hair cut at some expensive barber in the Pearl District, $65 a cut, drives a white Tesla Model 3, leased $650 a month. He mentioned that casually once, like it was nothing. He wears designer jeans, $240 Page denim, and an Apple Watch Ultra, $799. I looked it up. He talks like a LinkedIn post. Scaling, disrupting legacy industries, building ecosystems. It's exhausting. His wife Rebecca seemed nice, 32, works in marketing. They'd gotten married 8 months before, some small ceremony I wasn't invited to. Just immediate family, Dad, you understand? I didn't, but I said I did. Brandon called himself the founder and CEO of Venture Capital. We connect retail investors with emerging crypto opportunities, he'd say. When I asked for details, he'd pivot. It's complex, Dad. Blockchain, DeFi. You wouldn't get it. That stung. I'd spent 35 years engineering bridges. I understand complex systems. But I said nothing. Later, I Googled Venture Capital. Found a website, slick design, stock photos, no news coverage, no real clients that I could find. On October 2nd, Brandon made his move. We were sitting at the dining table. He'd brought sandwiches. Pastrami on rye for him, turkey for me. He remembers I don't like pastrami. That detail mattered to me then. Dad, he said, I have an opportunity. Serious investors. But I need to show skin in the game. I waited. 50,000 would change everything. You'd be an early investor. 10 times return in 18 months. I put down my sandwich. Brandon, I don't invest in things I don't understand. And I don't lend family money. It ruins relationships. His face shifted. Jaw tightened. The smile froze. Dad, come on. You're sitting on over $2 million. Mom would want you to help me. That crossed a line. Don't use your mother to manipulate me. He left fast, angry. Barely said goodbye. But he came back the next Wednesday. The tone had changed, though. More comments about the house. How much space do you really need? This is too much upkeep for one person. He started suggesting assisted living. Nice communities, Dad, social activities. You'd meet people. One week he brought Rebecca along. They casually mentioned their house hunt. If only we had help with a down payment, Rebecca said. Brandon nodded along. I deflected every time. On October 15th, Emily called. Dad, Brandon asked me if you've updated your will recently. Why would he ask that? I got defensive. He's curious. He's family. Dad, Emily said carefully, be careful. I hung up annoyed, but something gnawed at me, a feeling I couldn't shake. Then came October 25th. Brandon started playing memory games. Dad, did you remember to pay your property taxes? Brandon, I've paid them on time for 37 years. He turned to Rebecca loud enough for me to hear. He gets defensive when I check on him. Other times, did you take your pills? I don't take daily medication. You already told me that story, Dad. I hadn't. On October 25th, he suggested a doctor's visit. When's your last checkup? Should we schedule you a physical? I'm fine. Annual checkup in January. I mean like a cognitive screening, just to be safe. Ice ran through my voice. My mind is fine, Brandon. I'm just worried, Dad. You've been alone a lot since Mom. I'm not discussing this. November 1st, everything crystallized. Brandon was in the guest bathroom. Thought the door was closed. It wasn't. I walked past, heard him on the phone. Stubborn old man won't listen. We'll figure something out. 6 weeks tops, or I'm screwed. Yes, that's screwed. I froze in the hallway. Pieces clicked into place. Brandon wasn't worried about me. He was worried about himself, and he needed money badly, desperately. The next morning, November 2nd, I drove to Best Buy. Bought a Ring indoor cam, $59.99, paid cash. Sunday, November 3rd, I installed it myself. Tucked it behind the potted fern on my bookshelf. The angle covered the front door, the living room, and the entry to the hallway where my backpack hangs. I felt guilty doing it. Margaret's voice echoed in my head. "Trust but verify, Freddie." "I hope I'm wrong, Maggie," I whispered to her photo that night. "God, I hope I'm wrong." The visits continued, but something had shifted in Brandon. An edge I hadn't seen before. A desperation. October 18th, he asked, "Dad, did you remember to pay your property taxes?" "Brandon, I've paid them for 37 years without missing once." He turned to Rebecca, loud enough for me to hear. "He gets defensive when I try to help." October 25th. "When's your last checkup, Dad?" "January, same as always." "I mean a cognitive screening, just to be safe." The words hung between us, heavy, accusatory. "My mind is fine, Brandon. I'm just worried. You've been alone since Mom died. Sometimes that affects people." I said I'm fine. He held up his hands. Fake surrender. Okay. I'm just looking out for you." But I saw it. The calculation behind his eyes. He was planting seeds, making me seem confused, forgetful, incompetent. Why? November 1st gave me the answer. Brandon had gone to the bathroom. I walked past, heading to the kitchen. The door wasn't fully closed. His voice drifted out. "Yeah, I know. Stubborn old man won't listen to reason. We'll figure something out, I promise. 6 weeks, tops, or I'm completely screwed. Yes, that screwed. No, you don't understand. These guys don't mess around." He was whispering, but panic sharpened his words. I stood frozen in the hallway. My heart hammered. The pieces fell together with sickening clarity. Brandon wasn't concerned about me. He was desperate for money. Real desperation. The kind that makes people do terrible things. I quietly backed away. When he emerged, I was sitting at the table like nothing happened. "You okay, Dad?" he asked. "Just fine," I said. That night, I couldn't sleep. Stared at the ceiling until 3 a.m. Margaret's words kept echoing. Trust, but verify. The next morning, November 2nd, a Friday, I drove to Best Buy. The kid at the counter couldn't have been older than 20. "Looking for home security," I told him. He showed me a Ring indoor cam. White, compact, $59.99. "Motion activated," he said. "Records to the cloud. You can check footage on your phone." "I'll take it." "You need help installing?" "No, son, I built bridges for 35 years. I can handle a camera." He smiled, rang me up. That Sunday, November 3rd, I installed it. Found the perfect spot behind a potted fern on my bookshelf. The plant's full enough to hide the camera, but the leaves don't block the lens. I aimed it carefully, covered the front door, most of the living room, the coat hooks where my backpack hangs. Then I downloaded the app, set up notifications, tested it. The footage was crystal clear, timestamp in the corner. Motion detection worked perfectly. I sat back and looked at the little white device tucked behind green leaves. "I hope I'm wrong, Maggie," I said to her photo on the mantel. "I really, really hope I'm wrong." But I wasn't wrong. Deep down, I knew that. You don't overhear a phone call like that and misunderstand what's coming. Brandon was planning something, and whatever it was, he needed to discredit me first. Make me seem confused, unstable, a danger to myself. Why else ask about cognitive screenings? Why else plant doubts about my memory? The camera felt like insurance, a safety net, documentation. Margaret used to say, "An ounce of prevention, Freddie." This was my ounce. I just didn't know yet how much I'd need it. November 6th, a Wednesday, 2:18 p.m. I remember the exact time because I checked the footage so many times afterward. Brandon showed up without lunch. First time in weeks. That alone set off alarms. "Hey, Dad," he said at the door. "Just checking in. Got 20 minutes between meetings." His voice was off. Too casual. Forced. "Coffee?" I offered. "Nah, I'm good." He glanced at my backpack. Just a flicker. But I saw it. "Actually, can I use your bathroom?" "You know where it is." He headed toward the hallway. I stayed in the kitchen, filling my water glass, listening. 3 minutes passed. No water running, no toilet flush, nothing. Then I heard footsteps from the wrong direction, the kitchen side. Brandon emerged near the refrigerator. "Thought you were using the bathroom?" I said. "I did. Too quick. Then grabbed water. All good." The lie sat between us. Obvious, but I didn't push. "See you soon, Dad." "Thanksgiving, right? 3 weeks." "Yeah," he smiled. "It'll be great." The hug felt wrong, stiff, performative. He left. I waited 10 minutes. Then I opened the Ring app on my phone, scrolled to 2:18 p.m. The footage started. Brandon entered the frame, looked around, checked if I was watching. Then he moved to the coat hooks. To my backpack, 2:21 p.m. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a small Altoids tin, Arctic peppermint, the blue one. He unzipped my backpack's inner pocket, the one where I keep my reading glasses, slid the tin inside, zipped it carefully, straightened the backpack so it looked undisturbed, then walked to the kitchen, created his bathroom alibi. The whole sequence took 48 seconds. His face was clear, focused, deliberate. This wasn't impulse. This was planned. I watched the footage 3 times. First time, disbelief. Maybe it's not what I think. Second time, horror. That's my son. That's my son. Third time, cold clarity. He planned this. I didn't touch the backpack that night. Couldn't bring myself to. The next morning, November 7th, I emptied it onto the kitchen table. Wallet, reading glasses, grocery list, Costco card, and the Altoids tin. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, a vacuum-sealed plastic bag, white powder. I didn't taste it. Didn't need to. I knew. I Googled Oregon cocaine possession law. The screen filled with legal language, but one line stood out. Possession of cocaine, 2 grams or more. Class C felony, up to 5 years prison. Fine up to $125,000. The room tilted. 5 years. Prison. At 62 years old. Brandon hadn't been trying to steal my money. He'd been trying to destroy me, frame me as a criminal, discredit me completely. Then what? Swoop in with Dad's clearly unstable, using drugs, needs a conservatorship. I'll take control of his finances, his house, everything. I sat at Margaret's dining table for 2 hours, just staring at that tin. The oak surface was cool under my palms. The same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, where Brandon had done his homework as a kid, where we'd celebrated birthdays, holidays, life. And now he'd used my house, our home, to plant evidence that could end my freedom. The rage came slowly, not hot, cold, methodical. "What do I do, Maggie?" asked her photo on the mantel. Her smile looked back at me, patient, steady. "Document," I heard her say in my memory. "Document everything, then call James." James Sullivan, captain in the Portland Police Northeast Precinct. 30 years of friendship. He'd been a pallbearer at Margaret's funeral. I picked up my phone, 7:32 p.m. "Fred?" James answered. "Everything okay?" "James, I need your professional advice as a friend, but also as a cop." Silence. Then, "Come over, now." 20 minutes later, I was in his living room, off duty, no uniform, just James, in jeans and a blazer sweatshirt. I showed him the footage, showed him the cocaine. His face went dark, the kind of anger I'd only seen once before, when his mother was scammed by a fake charity. "Fred, this is felony elder abuse, attempted framing. We can arrest him tonight." "No," I said, "not yet." "Why?" "Because I want him to know what it feels like, thinking you've won, then losing everything in one moment." James studied me. "What are you thinking?" "He invited himself to Thanksgiving. He wants to be there, probably to watch when the police mysteriously find drugs during a wellness check. I want witnesses, James. I want the family to see who he really is." "Fred, this is risky. He could get spooked, not show up." "He'll show. He thinks he's untouchable." James leaned back, ran his hand through his gray hair. "Okay," he finally said, "but we do this by the book. Legal, documented, chain of custody, everything. Wouldn't have it any other way." We spent the next hour photographing the cocaine, timestamp, ruler for scale, my gloves on to preserve fingerprints. James sealed it in an evidence bag, signed as witness. "I'll brief Detective Stevens in narcotics," James said. "We'll have a warrant ready. When you give the signal on Thanksgiving, we move." I nodded. On my way home, I made one more stop. Brandon's guest room, his childhood bedroom, baseball trophy still on the dresser, yearbook from 2013. I opened the top drawer, old t-shirts, socks from high school. I placed the Altoids tin inside a rolled-up Metallica shirt, visible if the drawer opened, but not obvious. "Your crime," I whispered. "Your space." I took a photo. Documentation. Then I went to bed. First full night's sleep I'd had in weeks. Margaret would have been proud. November 8th. Morning light filtered through the kitchen window. I made coffee, Margaret's blend from the local roaster, and called Emily. "Dad, everything okay? It's 8 a.m. Emmy, I need you to find out everything about Brandon's finances." Silence. Then, "Dad, I already have it." My heart stopped. "What?" "I've been tracking him for 3 weeks. Since he started those weird comments about your memory, something felt off." "Send it to me." 10 minutes later, my email pinged. Encrypted PDF. Brandon Financial Profile, 2024 PDF. I opened it with shaking hands. The breakdown was devastating. Credit cards, $35,100. 5 cards, all maxed. Personal loans, $28,600. 2 high-interest lenders, 19% APR. Loan sharks, $19,200. Emily had found Venmo receipts to someone named Jay Costello. Captions like "weekly" and "don't be late." IRS back taxes, $9,800, 2022 and 2023 combined. Total, $92,700. But that wasn't all. Emily had found the business records. Venture Rise Capital, dissolved, September 2024. Business failure. Total losses, $183,000 from investors. Brandon's current income, 0. He'd been living on Rebecca's $78,000 salary and maxed credit cards. "Emmy," I said, voice hollow, "why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I tried, Dad. You defended him, said to give him grace." She was right. I had. "He's dangerous, desperate," Emily said. "That level of debt, those loan sharks. Dad, people do terrible things when they're this cornered." "I know." I stared at the numbers. "I know exactly what he's planning to do." "What do you mean?" "I'll explain at Thanksgiving. Can you come early, 2 p.m.? "Of course. Dad, what's going on?" "Just trust me. And Emmy, thank you for watching out for me." Her voice softened. "Always." Next call, Jennifer Hartwell, attorney at Heritage Legal Group. I'd known her since she was in law school. Brilliant woman, sharp as they come. "Frederick?" She sounded surprised. "Been a while. Jennifer, I need a new will. Urgently." I met her that afternoon at her office downtown. Glass walls, city views, very different from Margaret's cozy home office where she used to do our taxes. "Tell me what's happening," Jennifer said. I told her everything, the debt, the manipulation, the planted drugs. Her expression hardened with each detail. "If Brandon tried to frame you," she said carefully, "he can't inherit. Oregon law allows disinheritance for criminal acts against the testator. With video evidence, it's bulletproof. Draft a new will, everything to Emily. Set up a trust for Margaret's garden maintenance. I want it endowed for perpetuity. And leave Brandon $1. The symbolic dollar? So he can't claim he was forgotten. He was considered and explicitly rejected." Jennifer drafted it in 2 hours. I signed that evening. November 14th. Notarized. 2 witnesses from her firm. "You're protected now," Jennifer said. "Legally, at least." "Thank you." On my way home, I stopped at James's house again. "Got the warrant?" I asked. He handed me a folder. "Signed by Judge Morrison. We can execute it any time. Detective Stevens is coordinating with 2 patrol units. We'll be outside during dinner. You text me when you're ready. We come in on my signal." "What's the charge?" "Possession with intent to distribute. Felony elder abuse. Simulating legal process. That's the framing attempt. All Class C felonies. He's looking at serious time if convicted." I nodded slowly. the weight of it settling. "Fred," James said, "you sure about this? Doing it at Thanksgiving? It's going to devastate your family. They need to see the truth, all of them. If I just tell them, half won't believe it. They'll think I'm exaggerating, being harsh. But if they watch him get arrested, if they see the footage..." James exhaled. "You're right, but it's going to hurt. It already hurts. At least this way, everyone understands why." The next week crawled by. I went through the motions, bought the turkey, $63 at Costco, prepped Margaret's recipes, made her famous stuffing with sage and cranberries. Brandon called twice, both times his voice too cheerful. "Can't wait for Thursday, Dad. It's been too long since we had a real family Thanksgiving." Each time I wanted to scream, but I kept my voice steady. "See you then, son." Emily arrived Wednesday night, stayed in the guest room, not Brandon's old room. I'd closed that door. "Dad," she said over coffee Thursday morning, "are you really doing this?" "Yes." "What if it goes wrong? What if he doesn't show?" "He'll show. His ego won't let him stay away. He thinks he's won." "And Rebecca?" "Rebecca's innocent in this. She has no idea. I feel for her." Emily hugged me. "Mom would be proud of you." Or horrified. "No, proud. You're protecting yourself, setting boundaries. That's what she always taught us." Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and clear. November 28th. I woke at 6, made coffee, sat at Margaret's table. "Today, Maggie," I whispered to her photo, "today we set this right." The turkey went in at 9. By 1 p.m. the house smelled like home, like family, like better days. By 4 p.m. everyone started arriving. Uncle Thomas and Aunt Patricia, Emily's boyfriend David, Cousin Jennifer with her husband and 2 kids, 8 and 11, Cousin Mark, Margaret's sister Helen, 70 years old and sharp as ever. 15 people total. Brandon and Rebecca arrived at 4:30, half an hour late. Sorry, Brandon called out, all smiles. "Traffic was brutal." He hugged everyone, complimented the food, played the perfect son. Rebecca looked tired, distant. I caught her watching Brandon with something like confusion. "Let's eat," I said. Everyone took their seats around the extended table. Margaret's oak surface, covered with her good china. The Last Supper before everything changed. The dinner started warm, familiar. Uncle Thomas asked about the house. "Fred, you keeping up okay?" "I manage fine." Brandon jumped in, loud and jovial. "Dad's doing amazing. Honestly, for his age, super sharp." The table went quiet. That phrase, "for his age," hung in the air like smoke. Emily's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "Brandon, he's 62, not 90. Brandon laughed, too forced. "I just mean living alone, big house. It's a lot to maintain." Aunt Patricia's voice cut sharp. "Frederick's perfectly capable." Of course. Brandon raised his hands. "I'm just saying families should look out for each other, that's all." I said nothing. Just cut my turkey. Watched. Brandon drank more wine than usual. Refilled his glass 3 times in 30 minutes. Rebecca barely touched hers. She kept glancing at him with something I couldn't quite read. Worry? Suspicion? Conversation flowed around the table. Cousin Jennifer's kids talked about school. Thomas told a story about his fishing trip. Helen reminisced about Margaret's cooking. Brandon checked his phone twice under the table. Both times he smiled, like he was waiting for something. Emily leaned close to me, whispered, "Dad, he's sweating." She was right. Despite the cool November evening, Brandon's forehead glistened. His leg bounced under the table. Nervous energy. "I know," I whispered back. By 5:45, dessert was served. Pumpkin pie, $45 from Grand Central Bakery. Margaret's favorite place. I'd bought 3. Whipped cream passed around. Coffee poured. The kids asked for seconds. I stood, tapped my fork against my water glass. The table quieted. 15 faces turned toward me. "Before we finish," I said, "I need to share something." Uncle Thomas smiled. "Speech time?" "Something like that." I kept my voice steady, calm. "This Thanksgiving, I'm grateful for family. Real family. People who show up not when they need something, but because they care. Brandon's smile tightened. Dad, that's sweet. I continued as if he hadn't spoken. I'm grateful for my daughter Emily, who visits every 2 weeks without being asked, who brought groceries when I was sick last winter, who calls just to talk. Emily looked confused. Dad? I'm grateful for friends like James Sullivan, who've stood by me for 30 years, through Margaret's death, through everything. Brandon shifted in his seat. Who's James Sullivan? The doorbell rang. Rebecca started to stand. I'll get it. Please, sit, I said firmly. Every eye watched as I walked to the door. Behind me, I heard whispers. Confusion. I opened the door. Captain James Sullivan stood there in full uniform. Detective Mark Stevens beside him. 2 patrol officers behind them. The table erupted. Voices overlapping. What's happening? Fred? What? Is everything okay? I stepped aside. Let them enter. James's voice carried authority. Professional. Clear. Sorry to interrupt Thanksgiving, folks. We have a warrant. He held up the paper. Official seal visible. Brandon stood fast. His chair scraped loud. Warrant? For what? James turned to him. Brandon Michael Wilkinson, you're under arrest for possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute and felony elder abuse. The room went silent. Absolute. The kind of silence that feels like pressure in your ears. Brandon's face drained white. What? Dad, what is this? I met his eyes, kept my voice level. It's the cocaine you hid in my backpack 2 weeks ago. Helen gasped. Uncle Thomas half stood. Rebecca's hand flew to her mouth. Brandon's voice pitched high, panicked. That's insane! I never, Dad. Are you okay? Is this some kind of... I pulled out my iPad, already cued to the footage, connected to the TV. Everyone, please watch. I pressed play. The screen lit up. November 6th, 2:21 p.m., the timestamp clear in the corner. Brandon entered the frame, looked around, checked if anyone was watching, moved to the coat hooks, to my backpack, reached into his jacket, pulled out the Altoids tin, unzipped my backpack's inner pocket, slid the tin inside, zipped carefully, straightened the bag, walked away. 48 seconds of crystal clear, damning footage. The table sat frozen, mouths open, eyes wide. Brandon's voice cracked. That's not... I can explain. Emily stood. Her chair fell backward. You tried to frame him? Your father? It's not what it looks like. I turned off the TV. The silence roared back. Then explain the $92,700 in debt, I said quietly. Explain the loan sharks. Explain why you suddenly cared about me after 3 years of nothing. Rebecca's face crumbled. 92,000? Brandon, you said 20,000. You said it was just student loans. Brandon spun to her, desperate. Baby, I can explain. It's complicated. Complicated? Her voice broke. You tried to put your father in prison. Uncle Thomas stood now, fury in every line of his face. Get out! Get him out of here! Detective Stevens moved forward. Mr. Wilkinson, hands behind your back. Brandon backed away. Dad, please! Dad, they'll kill me if I don't pay. The loan sharks, they don't mess around. So you decided to destroy me instead? My voice stayed quiet, harder than steel. You wanted me in prison. You wanted control of this house. You weaponized my grief. I'm sorry. Brandon was crying now, real tears, snot running. I'm sorry. I didn't know what else to do. You could have asked for help. You could have been honest. You could have been my son. I am your son. You stopped being my son when you put drugs in my bag. The words landed like stones. Final. Irreversible. Detective Stevens pulled Brandon's arms back. Handcuffs clicked. Metal on wrist. Brandon Michael Wilkinson, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. The Miranda rights rolled out. Practiced, routine, but nothing about this felt routine. Brandon struggled. Rebecca, Rebecca, help me! Rebecca stood frozen, face pale, tears streaming. I don't even know who you are. They walked him toward the door, past the table where he'd eaten Thanksgiving dinner, past the family photos on the wall, Brandon as a kid, smiling, innocent. As he passed me, he looked up, met my eyes, no rage in my expression, no triumph, just cold finality. "Dad," he whispered. "Please." I said nothing. The door closed behind them. Engine sounds, car doors, sirens fading into the November evening. For a long moment, no one moved. The dining room felt suspended in time. Pie cooling on plates, coffee growing cold. Helen, Margaret's sister, broke first, started crying. "Oh, Freddie." Emily moved to my side, wrapped her arms around me. I was shaking now. Adrenaline crash. The weight of everything hitting at once. "Grandpa?" Jennifer's 8-year-old daughter tugged my sleeve. "Where did Uncle Brandon go?" Patricia knelt down, gentle. "He had to leave, honey. It's grown-up stuff." Thomas stood, crossed to me, put a heavy hand on my shoulder. "Fred, Jesus, how long have you known?" 3 weeks. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" "Because I wanted to hope I was wrong. And because—" I looked around the table, at 15 faces staring back. "Because you all needed to see it. The real him, not the version he pretended to be." Mark nodded slowly. "If you'd just told us, half wouldn't have believed it." "Exactly." Emily still held me. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I should have pushed harder when I found the debt." "And you did what you could, Emmy. This isn't on you." Rebecca stood suddenly, grabbed her purse. "I need to go. I need to—" Patricia moved toward her. "Rebecca, honey, stay. You don't have to leave." "I can't be here. I can't—" Her voice cracked completely. "I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know." "We believe you," I said quietly. She looked at me, eyes red. "He told me 20,000. Student loans from his startup. I had no idea it was 92. I had no idea about loan sharks. I had no idea he'd—" She couldn't finish. "You're a victim too," I said. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." She left. The door closed softly behind her. Thomas broke the silence. "Well, what now?" I looked at the table, at Margaret's good china, at the half-eaten pie, at 15 people trying to process what they'd just witnessed. "Now?" I said. "Now we finish Thanksgiving." Helen laughed, shocked, almost hysterical. "Finish?" "Margaret spent a week planning these meals," I said. "Every recipe, every detail. I'm not letting Brandon ruin this too." So we finish our pie. We talk, we process, and remember what family actually means. Slowly people sat back down, picked up forks. The conversation started again. Quieter, heavier, but real. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. Thomas raised his coffee mug. To Fred, for protecting himself, for doing what had to be done. Others raised mugs, glasses, forks. To Fred. I raised mine too, but inside I was thinking, to Margaret, for teaching me that love without boundaries isn't love at all. November 29th, Friday morning, 8 a.m. Brandon was arraigned at Multnomah County Courthouse. I didn't attend. James called with updates. 3 charges, he said. ORS 475.894, unlawful possession of cocaine, 2 grams or more. Class C felony. ORS 163.205, criminal mistreatment of an elder. Class A misdemeanor. ORS 162. 285, simulating legal process. Another Class C felony for the framing attempt. Bail? $100,000. He needs $10,000 cash to get out. Can he pay it? Not from what Emily found. He's got nothing. Brandon sat in Multnomah County Detention Center for 7 days. Orange jumpsuit, metal bunk, fluorescent lights that never fully turned off. Emily agonized over it. Called me 3 times that week. Dad, should I bail him out? He's still my brother. That's your choice, Emmy. I won't tell you what to do. On December 5th, she posted bail. $10,000 from her savings. I'm not doing it for him, she told me. I'm doing it because I need to sleep at night. I understood. Brandon was released with conditions. GPS ankle monitor, no contact with me, surrender passport, weekly check-ins with pretrial services. The monitor bulged under his pants. Everyone could see it. Rebecca filed for divorce December 3rd, 2 days after the arrest. Irreconcilable differences. Fraud in marriage. She claimed Brandon misrepresented his financial status, his character, everything. Her statement to the court, Emily got a copy, was devastating. I thought I was marrying an entrepreneur. I married a con artist who used his dying mother's memory to manipulate his father. I never want to see him again. The divorce finalized in March, Oregon's 90-day minimum. Rebecca kept her earnings, Brandon kept his debt. The family fractured clean down the middle. 14 of 15 sided with me. Only Rebecca's parents sent a card to Brandon. Even they didn't visit. Uncle Thomas told me over coffee, "Fred, I'm proud of you. Margaret would be proud too." Helen called weekly. That boy was always entitled, even as a child. Margaret worried about it. Emily visited every week now, not out of guilt, because she wanted to. Cousin Jennifer cut Brandon off completely. "I don't care if we're blood. That man is dead to me." Brandon's friends, the few tech bro contacts he had, vanished. His social media went dark. The comments before he disabled it were brutal. Imagine trying to frame your own dad. "This is why you don't burn bridges." "Enjoy prison, bro." The local news picked it up. Portland Tribune ran the headline, "Portland man arrested for planting drugs on elderly father." Coin 6 did a segment. They didn't use my name, victim privacy, but everyone in our circle knew. The story went viral on Reddit. 85,000 upvotes on Our Year Justice served. Comments in the thousands. I declined all interview requests. Released one statement through Jennifer Hartwell. "I just want peace. My son made his choices. Now he faces the consequences." Emily released her own. "Our father is a good man who protected himself legally. Brandon made his choices." The financial ruin was total. Brandon lost the Pearl District loft December 15th. Evicted. $3,200 in back rent, nowhere to go. His Tesla got repossessed. Missed 2 payments. $650 a month he couldn't make. The loan sharks still owed $19,200 plus interest. They didn't care about legal trouble. They wanted their money. Brandon's credit score plummeted. Bankruptcy loomed. Employment prospects, 0. No one hires a felon awaiting sentencing for elder abuse. James called in January. Prosecutors offering a deal. What kind of deal? Plead guilty to 1-count felony elder abuse, 1-count possession. Recommended sentence: 18 months county jail, eligible for work release after 6, 3 years probation after, $15,000 fine, mandatory counseling, drug, financial, mental health, and a permanent no-contact order with you. What if he goes to trial? With that video, he's looking at 5 years minimum if convicted. His public defender's advising him to take it. What does Brandon say? "He's broken, Fred, completely. He'll take the deal." I hung up, sat at Margaret's table, stared at the wood grain, 15,000 in fines, 18 months in jail, 3 years on probation, permanent record, life permanently altered. The part of me that was still a father, the part that remembered teaching him to ride a bike, helping with homework, celebrating his graduation, that part ached. But the part that survived, the part Margaret taught to set boundaries, to demand respect, that part felt calm. "He did this to himself, Maggie," I said to her photo. "I didn't put those drugs in my bag. I didn't create his debt. I just refused to be his victim." Emily stopped by that evening, brought soup from the deli Margaret used to love. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Tired," I admitted, "but not guilty. Is that terrible?" "No, Dad, it's healthy. You protected yourself. That's not terrible. That's survival." "Do you think you'll ever forgive him?" "Forgive? Maybe someday. But reconcile? Never. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone back into your life to hurt you again." She hugged me. "That's very wise. Your mother taught me that." Outside, snow started falling. Early for Portland. The rose garden looked peaceful under white powder. Inside, the house felt warm, safe, mine. February 12th, 2025. The courtroom was cold, fluorescent lights, wood paneling, the smell of old carpet, and anxiety. Judge Ellen Morrison presided. 56, steel gray hair, reputation for fairness, but 0 tolerance for elder abuse. Brandon sat at the defense table, public defender beside him, the GPS monitor visible under his cheap suit pants. donated by a charity program. He'd lost weight, dark circles under his eyes, hair longer, unkempt. 7 weeks in county jail, even with the 1 week release on bail, changes a person. I sat in the second row, Emily beside me, James in the row behind. Moral support. The prosecutor outlined the deal. Brandon would plead guilty to 1 count, felony elder abuse, 1 count cocaine possession. Recommended sentence: 18 months county jail, work release eligible after 6 months, 3 years probation, $15,000 in fines plus court costs of $3,200, mandatory counseling, permanent no contact order with me. Judge Morrison looked at Brandon. Mr. Wilkinson, do you understand these terms? Yes, Your Honor, his voice barely audible. And you agree to plead guilty? Yes. Does the victim wish to make a statement? The prosecutor nodded. Frederick Wilkinson has prepared remarks, Your Honor. I stood, walked to the podium, unfolded my paper. My hands didn't shake this time. Your Honor, my name is Frederick Wilkinson. I'm the father of the defendant. 3 years ago, I lost my wife of 38 years. Sudden, unexpected, devastating. My son Brandon attended her funeral but left early. In the 3 years after Margaret's death, I saw Brandon maybe 5 times. Then last August, he returned. I thought grief had brought us closer. I was wrong. It was desperation, his desperation, not mine. He didn't want a relationship. He wanted access. When I wouldn't give him money, he decided to destroy me. He planted cocaine in my belongings, hoping I'd be arrested, discredited, imprisoned. Then he could control my assets. I'm not here to ask for maximum punishment. I'm here to say there are consequences for weaponizing love, for exploiting loneliness, for treating a parent as an obstacle instead of a person. I don't hate my son, but I will never trust him again, and I will never allow him back into my life. Your Honor, do what justice requires. I've already moved on. I folded the paper, walked back to my seat, didn't look at Brandon. Judge Morrison's voice was steel. Mr. Wilkinson, this is one of the most calculated acts of elder abuse I've seen. You exploited your father's grief after losing his wife. You used his home as a staging ground for a felony. You attempted to have him imprisoned. That's not desperation. That's depravity. I accept the plea agreement with the following terms: 18 months, Multnomah County Jail. Credit for 7 days served. Eligible for work release after 6 months. 3 years supervised probation upon release. $15,000 fine payable within probation period. Court costs of $3,200. Mandatory participation in drug treatment, financial counseling, and mental health services. And a permanent no-contact order with Frederick Wilkinson. You are not to contact him directly, indirectly, or through third parties. Ever. Do you understand? Brandon's voice broke. Yes, Your Honor. Do you have anything to say? He turned, looked at me, tears streaming. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I looked back. No expression, no forgiveness, no acknowledgement. Just silence. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. Court adjourned. Bailiff, remand the defendant. They handcuffed him, led him away. He looked back once. I didn't meet his eyes. Emily took my hand. Do you think you'll ever forgive him? Forgiveness is complicated, I said. I hope he gets better. I hope he learns, but he's not welcome in my life. That's fair. It's not about fair, Emmy. It's about boundaries, and I've learned mine. Outside, February sun broke through clouds, cold but bright. James walked with us to the parking lot. You did good, Fred. I did what was necessary. That's the same thing. Maybe. Or maybe I just finally learned what Margaret tried to teach me all along. Love without respect isn't love. It's exploitation wearing a familiar face. March 2025. Spring arrived early in Portland. The cherry blossoms on the street bloomed pink and white. Margaret's rose bushes showed new growth. I've developed a routine. Mornings start with coffee at Margaret's table. I still talk to her photo. Morning, Maggie. Some days I tell her about the news. Some days I just sit. The house feels different now. Less empty, not because it's full, I'm still alone, but because I chose who's in it. That choice matters. Emily visits every week, sometimes twice. We cook Margaret's recipes together. Last Sunday, we made her pot roast. Emily cried when she tasted it. It's exactly like Mom's. That was the goal, I said. Uncle Thomas hosts Sunday dinners now, first Sunday of every month. His house, his wife's cooking, but the same family, 14 of us. The one missing doesn't get mentioned. Helen calls weekly, Thursday evenings. We talk about Margaret, about the old days, about how life moves forward even when we're not ready. I joined a woodworking club. Every Tuesday at the community center. 12 members, all retirees. We build furniture, birdhouses, picture frames. Last week I made a shadow box for Margaret's wedding ring. It sits on the mantle now. Dating? People ask. The answer's simple. Not yet. Maybe never. I'm okay with that. And I am okay. Not happy, not in the way I was with Margaret, but content, peaceful, safe. The will's updated. Everything to Emily. Trust established for Margaret's Garden Memorial. An annual scholarship for engineering students. $5,000 a year, forever. Brandon gets $1, legally acknowledged, intentionally excluded. When I'm gone, this is yours, I told Emily last month. Do good with it. Dad, don't talk like that. I'm not being morbid, Emmy. I'm being responsible. There's a difference. Community response surprised me. Portland neighbors, people I'd waved to for years but never really talked to, started stopping by. Bringing casseroles, offering to help with yard work. One neighbor, Tom from 3 doors down, "You're the strongest guy I know, Fred." I'm not strong. I just refuse to be a victim. He nodded like that made perfect sense. My church, I attend occasionally, not regularly, gave me a standing ovation the first Sunday back. Embarrassing, but touching. Former co-workers from Portland Metro Engineering organized a reunion lunch. 12 retired engineers, gray hair and reading glasses. Everyone bought my meal. They raised their beers. To Fred, still building bridges, even when people burn them. That one made me tear up. People ask if I regret how I handled it. The answer's always the same, no. Could I have confronted Brandon privately? Sure. But he would have lied, manipulated, maybe destroyed evidence, claimed I was confused, suffering from grief-induced paranoia. Public accountability was necessary. Not for revenge, for truth. I loved my son, still do, in that complicated way you love someone who hurt you. But love doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. Margaret used to say, "Trust, but verify, Freddie." I trusted too long. Should have verified sooner. That's my only regret. To anyone watching this who's being manipulated by family, you're not crazy. Your boundaries are valid. Document everything. Find people who believe you. And don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, even if they're blood. Thanksgiving 2024 was supposed to be about gratitude. Instead, it became about boundaries, about self-respect, about choosing dignity over denial. I'm grateful for Emily, for James, for Jennifer Hartwell, for the law working the way it should. I'm even grateful for that $60 Ring camera. Best investment I ever made. Most of all, I'm grateful I chose clarity over comfort, truth over false peace. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If you've experienced something similar, please share your story in the comments below. You're not alone. More people understand than you think. And if you're thinking about exploiting someone's grief, their loneliness, their love, remember this. Quiet people are often the ones documenting everything. The person you underestimate might be the one who brings you down. Take care of each other. Set your boundaries. Protect your peace. And happy Thanksgiving. Whenever yours may be, the roses are blooming. Margaret would have loved them.